You have a sleeping disorder, you just don't know it yet. Every night, somewhere around 2 or 3 a.m., your body sends a signal, a quiet, ancient signal, telling you to wake up. And every night, you fight it. You blame stress. You blame your phone. You blame the coffee you had at 4 p.m. But what if none of those things are the real reason? What if your body is simply remembering something it was built to do? Something we erased less than 200 years ago. Tonight, we go back. Before the alarm clock, before the light bulb, before electricity itself. And what we find in that darkness will change how you think about sleep, about fire, and about what it actually means to be human. Let's start with fire, because without fire, none of what follows makes sense. The earliest solid evidence of controlled fire comes from Wonderwork Cave in South Africa about 1 million years ago. But here's what nobody talks about. Fire didn't just keep humans warm. It completely restructured human time. Before fire, our ancestors operated exactly like every other primate. When the sun went down, you stopped. You found shelter. You stayed perfectly still because moving at night meant becoming food. Leopards, hyenas, spotted hyenas specifically, can see in near total darkness. You cannot. Before fire, darkness wasn't inconvenient. It was a death sentence. Fire changed the equation overnight, literally. A campfire creates a circle of safety roughly 10 meters wide. Inside that circle, apex predators won't come. Outside it, your odds drop dramatically. But here's the part that rewired our species. Fire didn't just protect us. It gave us something no other animal had ever had: extra time. Before fire, the useful day ended at sunset. 8 hours in winter, maybe 12 in summer. Fire suddenly added 2 to 4 hours to every single day. And over thousands of generations, those extra hours didn't just change how we lived. They changed what we were. If this is already surprising you, and trust me, it gets much stranger, hit that like button right now. It tells the algorithm this kind of content matters. Now, back to the fire. In 2014, anthropologist Polly Wiesner published a study that stopped the academic world cold. She'd spent years sitting around fires with the Jew/Hwansi Bushmen of the Kalahari, one of the last groups on Earth still living close to the original human pattern. What she recorded was remarkable. During daylight hours, roughly 80% of conversations were functional. Logistics, planning, who hunts where, who owes what to whom. But at night, around the fire, everything flipped. Over 80% of nighttime talk was stories. Not gossip, not complaints, stories. Heroes overcoming impossible odds, ancestors who shaped the world, jokes that made the whole camp shake with laughter. Wiesner's conclusion was radical. The campfire was where human culture was invented. Not in temples, not in universities, not in cities. Around a fire, in the dark, with people you trusted. Think about why you feel something around a campfire that you don't feel anywhere else. Why it pulls you in. Why conversations go deeper at 1 a.m. than they ever do at noon. Your nervous system still remembers what that circle of light meant. It meant safety. It meant community. It meant you were human. Comment right now. Have you ever had a conversation around a fire that felt completely different from a normal conversation? Because what you're about to learn explains exactly why that happens. Now here's where it gets personal. In 2001, historian Roger E. Kirch published a paper that quietly detonated inside the world of sleep science. He'd spent 16 years inside archives, prayer books from the 1400s, court records, medical texts, private diaries from ordinary people. And he kept finding the same phrase over and over. First sleep, second sleep. Before the industrial age, humans did not sleep in one continuous block. They slept for roughly 4 hours. Then they woke up. Not from nightmares, not from noise. They simply woke, naturally, into a quiet wakefulness that lasted 1 to 2 hours. Then they slept again until dawn. This wasn't insomnia. This was the design. And what did people do during this window? Everything. A 16th century French physician wrote that this was the best time for couples to conceive. The body was rested, the mind was clear. People prayed, they wrote, they visited neighbors, they lay in silence and processed their dreams while the memories were still vivid. A doctor's manual from the 1500s called this period the watch and described it as the optimal time for deep thought and reflection. In 1992, psychiatrist Thomas Weir at the National Institute of Mental Health decided to test whether this was real. He took volunteers and removed all artificial light for a month, just 14 hours of darkness per night, the way our ancestors would have experienced a winter night. Within weeks, without any instruction, every single participant settled into the same pattern. 4 hours of sleep, 1 to 3 hours of quiet wakefulness, then 4 more hours. Nobody told them to do this. Their bodies just did it, as if some ancient program had been waiting inside them all along, buried under centuries of artificial light, just waiting for the darkness to return. Weir measured their hormone levels during this wakeful window and found something extraordinary. Their brains were producing elevated levels of prolactin, the same hormone released during deep meditation. They described feeling calm, reflective, peaceful in a way they couldn't quite explain. It wasn't a gap in sleep. It was its own state of consciousness, one that most modern humans have never experienced. So, what killed it? The answer isn't complicated. It was light. In the 1600s, European cities began installing street lamps. Louis XIV ordered Paris lit to reduce crime. London followed. Then came cheaper candles, then gas lamps. Then, in 1879, Edison commercialized the light bulb. And within a single generation, faster than any plague, any war, any revolution, the human night as it had existed for 300,000 years was gone. Here's something almost nobody knows. The word curfew comes from the French couvre-feu, cover fire. In medieval towns, a bell would ring at night signaling everyone to extinguish their flames, because night was supposed to be dark. Being outside after dark without a lantern was literally illegal in many European cities. Night belonged to criminals and the supernatural. People feared it in ways we can barely imagine today. And then we conquered it. We flooded it with light, and we called it progress. But consider what we actually lost. Modern humans are exposed to artificial light an average of 7 to 8 hours after sunset. That light, especially the blue wavelengths from your phone screen, tells your brain it's still afternoon. Melatonin production shuts down. Your sleep cycle fragments. Your circadian rhythm, which evolved over millions of years, quietly breaks down night after night. Researchers found that just 1 week of camping with zero artificial light resets your melatonin cycle by nearly 2 hours. 1 week. That's all it takes for 300,000 years of biological programming to reassert itself. We didn't just change when we sleep. We deleted an entire state of human consciousness. That quiet reflective window between first and second sleep. The state Weir's subjects described as deeply peaceful, almost meditative, doesn't exist for most modern humans anymore. We replaced it with insomnia, and then we built an entire medical industry to treat something that was never a disorder in the first place. So tonight, if you wake at 2 a.m. and lie there in the dark, don't panic. Don't reach for your phone. Don't scroll. Just breathe. You might be experiencing exactly what your ancestors built civilizations inside of. For 300,000 years, the night wasn't something to be conquered. It was something to be lived in. Your ancestors gathered around fires and told stories that shaped the entire human species. They slept in 2 phases, with a window of quiet reflection in between. They watched the Milky Way without driving anywhere to see it. It was just the sky. And every night, in that silent hour between first and second sleep, they lay in the dark and thought about their lives, their dreams, and the world they would wake up to. We traded all of it for a light switch, and most of us never even knew what we lost. If this video made you see something familiar in a completely new way, that's exactly what Nouveau is here for. Subscribe if you want more of this. Share it with one person who complains about waking up at night. They'll understand something about themselves they never did before. I'll see you in the next one.